Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hobby Homestead. I am also welcoming myself back to the Hobby Homestead because we were away for a week. And now there's a lot to do and I'm feeling overwhelmed. I did have my mom pick beans for me while I was away, but it was only like 1 or 2 harvests, I think. And there's lots of beans to pick. I've actually been underwhelmed by the amount of food in the garden when I got home. Usually when we leave for a week, it's a different time of year every year, like a different point in the summer that we'll take off for a week. But even when it's like in mid-July, I come home and just the bounty is overwhelming. Not this year, and now we're in August, and the bounty is still not overwhelming. And I don't know, it's discouraging. It's making me really want to prioritize some sort of greenhouse at my mom's place where there's room. Because the weather has been not conducive in weird ways, like first too cold and then too hot. But there's still beans. I'm just like last year, at this point in the season, we had already preserved all the beans that we needed for the year, and there's still some in the freezer. And we've only had 1 meal of beans so far this year. The one thing that's doing well is cherry tomatoes. Even though I planted them out when it was really cold, when we had a really cold spring, they went down to 5 degrees Celsius multiple nights. Then they went down to 3 degrees Celsius, and they're prolific. No setbacks at all. The beefsteak tomatoes, though, are a different story. These pretty tomatoes. There are finally some beefsteak tomatoes. These are black Krim. This one's been gotten into. One green zebra. Oh, dang it. The rabbit ate our soybeans again. There's our soybean patch. I was going to uncover it when we went away because I wanted pollinators to be able to get in. And apparently, the rabbits couldn't help themselves. I even left the row cover there. If I had seen a little bit of damage, had I been home, I would have covered them back up again. We still have some plants on this side of the bed, so I am going to cover them again tonight. We have a lot of rabbits. We also have a beautiful sunflower. Our watermelon is doing okay. Honestly, I don't know if we're gonna have time to get a harvest on these, but it's always worth a shot if you have a little bare spot of soil to give it a shot. I just noticed this guy. That's promising, actually. I thought this was the only watermelon that we had, and I thought this is going to take 3 months to grow. Maybe there'll be time to get a watermelon off this. They're Blacktail Mountain watermelons, so their mature size is like a large softball. They don't grow huge, which is how we can grow them here. And I just uncovered the cucumbers. I've been waiting to the last possible minute to uncover these because I didn't want the cucumber beetles to get in and just infest them and kill the plants. But we eventually will need pollinators. Foolishly, I have multiple varieties in here. One is a self-pollinizing kind of cucumber, so it doesn't need pollinators. But then I had some extra plants that are not that kind, that do require pollination, and I put them in here too because I knew I'd have a trellis. So now the self-pollinizing benefits are kind of useless in here because it's a mix. So I still have to keep it covered if I want the bugs off. And they're already mating in here. And we have one cucumber here. I'm not picking it yet. It's the first one that's done anything. There's loads of babies though. So we're getting there. Just a couple cucamelons. The cucamelons at the school garden, which is just 2 blocks away from my house, are off the hook right now. Not mine. I know they'll get there though, they're just a little slower. These are cucamelons. They're really cute little watermelon appearing cucumbers. Before I left, I ripped out all of my spring peas off of this trellis, and I planted some pre-started fall peas, but like what always happens in the fall here, they get so mildewy that they just don't grow. Luckily, we had some volunteer tomato plants in this bed already from last year that looked really healthy, so I just strapped them up to this trellis and they're flowering, so depending on what kind they are, we might actually get some tomatoes off of them. If they're any of the huge beefsteak varieties, they may not have time to ripen. This is how my peas start to look. Nice and mildewy. Kind of gross. But hopefully they'll bounce back. I mean, they're trying to flower already. It's been so hot. We had another massive heat wave while we were away. Like over 30 degrees Celsius plus humidex. It was nasty here. The melons on this trellis here look like they're growing, finally. Some cute little fuzzy Kajari melons. There's lots on here. And we just need them to have time to ripen. And I had 2 cabbages down here in the shady area, little seedlings for fall. And the rabbits demolished the cage that I had on this one and ate it to the ground. Luckily they didn't get this cage off. But the peaches are looking good. The tree is full. We'll at least get some this year because there are 1,000 peaches in this tree, I think. The pole beans have reached the top and are now producing. So at least there's that. But not as many pole beans grew as I was hoping this year. They just didn't germinate, or they failed to continue growing after germinating. And no sign of anything like herbicides in my soil, or no signs of poor nutrition. Different beds were filled in different years and get amended at different times. So I don't think it's that, although I may get the soil tested this fall. It's just kind of hard to do a soil test when you grow like I grow in a bunch of different raised beds, because they expect you to take a few samples from around your growing area and then they amalgamate them. So it tells them what the soil is like over a larger expanse of space. It kind of gets your averages better that way. But when you have a bunch of raised beds of varying sizes that have been filled with different soils at different times that you've imported, it's just a little less meaningful. And I'm not at all concerned about the in-ground soil that I have, because that is growing lots. Except squash. I have no squash yet, and I planted them in June 1st. Still no squash. Time to pick chamomile. This chamomile should have been picked while I was away. I'm a little afraid it's gonna kind of complete its life cycle now. I've been picking it diligently all summer so that it keeps producing more and more flowers. Some things you have to harvest almost daily to keep the harvest flowing. And it makes it hard to go away, honestly. I hate the time leading up to going away for a week. And then I always really enjoy myself while I'm away and I don't want to come back. And then we get here. And I don't know, this time I just have like kind of downer feelings. It's this weird feeling that I have that I won't have enough food for the winter from the garden, which is ridiculous because we have grocery stores, but I work all season, all year, to make sure that we're eating fresh out of the garden because I love it so much. I love the taste of the food. I love that I can go into the pantry or into the freezer and pull out something that we grew and put it on the table in January or February. It feels so rewarding. And in years where things are just really lean and the garden's not coming in well, we have no squash, no zucchinis. It's just like frustrating because we only get one chance per year. One chance per year here. We can't grow things through the winter, really. I mean, I grow like mushrooms inside, and we keep hoop houses, like row covers on some gardens to do some really cold hardy greens, but that's kind of boring, you know. And they also don't last all winter. And even like my rutabagas, I planted rutabagas and they all shriveled up because it was just over 30 degrees for so many days in a row, weeks in a row. They can't handle that. That's not the kind of weather that rutabagas are accustomed to. But here we can't grow them in September and then have them grow all through the cooler months and harvest them in December because things don't grow here beyond the fall equinox, generally speaking. But all we can do is just hope that the rest of August becomes incredibly bountiful and that I get enough to preserve to make me happy. I am actually buying like half a bushel of pickling cucumbers because I want to be able to put up a ton of pickles this year. It's been 2 years since I grew a substantial amount of cucumbers and we have been eating off those pickles for 2 years. And at this point we're out of things like gherkins and almost out of baby dills. We still have tons of relish because relish I make out of whatever cucumbers have gotten overripe. It's not like I need to pick pickling cucumbers for that. Actually, speaking of pickling cucumbers, they're kind of annoying to grow. So if you have, no, they're not annoying to grow. They're kind of annoying to harvest. And so if you do have access to a farmer who does pickling cucumbers where you can just buy in bulk, that's probably the way to go. It'll save you a lot of time and energy because you have to grow enough of them that you can pick them really small every day because they change every day, and then put them up, like can them into pickles. And so then you find yourself canning small batches of cucumbers every week or so. Whereas if you can just buy a big bulk thing of them, then you're not out there picking every day. You're not squishing cucumber beetles every day. You're just getting a nice big carton of ready to pickle cucumbers. And the reason why I say do that instead of just going and buying pickles at the grocery store is because there's a lot of joy in making your own pickles. You can select the ingredients you want. Like dill is so simple to grow, so you can have your own dill and your own garlic, even if you're buying the cucumbers. I just like it that way. Sometimes I'll throw a hot pepper in there. And the cucumbers and the pickles are always delicious. And they're versatile. You can get 1/2 bushel of cucumbers, or you can get 1 liter of cucumbers, whatever, and you can make different kinds of pickles with them. And they'll last for a couple years. And there's always a cost savings to things when you do it in bulk, if you already have all the equipment that you need. If you've never grown or used calendula before, it makes an amazing tea. A really good like sleepy time tea. It's a good ingredient in that. My kids and I really love mixing some calendula. No, not calendula. How many times have I called chamomile calendula? I don't know. Mixing some chamomile with some mint, maybe a little lemon balm. It's delicious. It'll help you sleep. I have heard that the stems of a chamomile plant will make your tea a little bitter. I've never tested it out, but I always try and pick them with no stem. This is all I'm going to harvest for now. I think I need to get to work doing some weeding and might help Kim work on the outdoor kitchen a little bit. The green beans are definitely the winners here. Well, and cherry tomatoes. Everything else is just peanuts. Speaking of peanuts, another thing that the rabbits ate while we were away were the last of our peanut plants. Little jerks. They did a lot of damage, and as I move through the garden, I'm finding more and more things that they damaged while we were away. And I'm realizing, like flowers too, just like topping off flowers. I'm realizing that we, being in the garden every day, are a pretty effective deterrent against things like rabbits. I mean, sure, they still come at dawn and at dusk and do some damage, but they probably noticed that nobody was here. And so they just went hog wild in the garden. And you know, we grow enough. It's not the end of the world. Things still look lush. Things still look pretty good, but when you get up close, that's when you start to notice all the damage. Oh my gosh, seeds are falling everywhere. All right, I'm gonna sow some seeds right now in a tray because the things that I've been sowing directly outside, oh, I forgot kale. Okay, I have to go back and get some kale seeds. The things I've been sowing directly outside have just been hit with heat wave after heat wave, and they're not coming up, despite my very best efforts. It can be frustrating, but then again, that's life, that's the garden, that's being in nature. You can't control things. And so I'm starting some of these things in the tray. It's a little late for some of this, but you always just have to take a chance because we never know what the fall will bring. We never know what the next month even will bring, really. The weather patterns could shift in a way that is really conducive to fast growth. Early snowball turnip. I am always on the lookout for things that germinate and grow really, really quickly. That's pretty much my number one priority now when I'm seed shopping, looking for new varieties of things. Is it a very quick to mature variety? That just gives me some extra insurance. So if something really crazy happens with the weather and it's really hot or it's really cold, if I have things started at different times throughout the season, because there's time for them to grow, that one of those varieties at one of those times is going to work out. I got my seeds planted and now I'm moving on to getting some of these peas out of their pods. These are the spring peas that I ripped out of the garden before, and I just dragged all the plants up onto my deck to finish drying. Now they're ready. I'm just getting them into a jar. I don't even know if they're going to be good because I didn't actually like these blue potted peas this year, but we're going to give it a shot. Just cook them up with a bunch of broth and they'll be fine. Peas have a tendency to explode as they dry. That's how they spread their seed. Do I have any examples here? Yeah, this one. They have a tendency to just like burst open. They want to twist, and eventually that want to twist makes them pop open, and then all the pea seeds go flying everywhere. Anyway, it's really hot. I don't know if I'm going to come back on here again later in the day, but I do hope that my mood improves later in the day. It did help me actually to go and weed a garden. I feel like, you know, I had this expectation that the garden was going to just give without me having been here to care for it. And honestly, I haven't cared for it much at all this summer because it's been so hot and I don't like the heat. And so I planted it. I tended my soil, I planted it, and then I just sat back and expected it to just produce abundantly for me, even though it was going through a lot of stresses with all the heat. And luckily we have had a lot of rain up until this last week. Now we're entering a bit of a drought. There's no rain in the forecast again for another week. But with all of that stress on the garden, I should have been more present. I should have been doing things for it. I should have been watering. I just sort of assumed it's well mulched. It'll be fine. And it's fine. Really nothing except for a couple seedlings have died because of the dryness. But I think things may have been more productive in some cases had I watered. So it's just a reminder, you know, I got out there, I got weeding, I got tending to the plants, and it was a reminder that this is what you need to do in order to expect a reward. You have to put in the work. Just a good reminder when I start to get a little bit too confident in the fact that my garden just takes care of itself. Even just once a week of going out and watering and tending to things helps. So yeah, I felt a little bit better after that. The one garden that I weeded, I have not weeded or watered at all this year. And so it already looks happier, looks more productive. It's just an herb garden, but you know, there's a fruit tree in there too. And some flowers that I've been harvesting for teas. So nice to give it a little bit of boost right at this time of year, where if I weren't to water it and just let it go, it would start to look worse and worse and worse throughout August. So yeah, I'm gonna just sit here and shell some dried peas, maybe fill this jar, maybe not, but just make the most of what the garden has given and just try and stay hopeful for fall, that it'll be a little more conducive to growing the things that I want to grow this fall. And just try to be thankful for everything that we have here that is doing amazingly well. We had beautiful toasted tomato sandwiches for lunch today on fresh baked bread, and that is the taste of summer. That's the kind of thing I have to focus on when I feel like things aren't as good as previous years. Comparison is rarely a good thing for your mental well-being. It can be a really good thing scientifically to track what works and what doesn't work in your garden, to compare year over year, but sometimes you just have to be present and be thankful for what you do have and stop comparing to years previous. Let me know in the comments how your garden is doing, if you've been dealing with more heat than usual, or if you've been dealing with drought, or maybe you've been having optimal conditions for growth this year. I'd love to know how things are going for you. Maybe we can compare notes, or maybe we can commiserate. I don't know. I hope it's not the latter. But thanks for watching. And as always, I hope that you'll come and grow with us.